Welcome back, folks. Thanks for joining this Hangout series here. Well, so far today, on this Innovation for the Nation, the Hangout series, we have talked about search appliances. We have gone in depth on maps and some of the geospatial services. Let's talk Chromebooks here. This session, a new approach to public computing, Chromebook loaner program for libraries. What we're going to do, the story that you're going to hear for the next 30 minutes here, is how, I think at a broader level, how Chromebooks really can be the perfect laptop for your state, local, or federal employees. Again, the case study is a loaner program for libraries here. Kicking off the session, I'm going to be turning things over in just a moment to Vidya Nagarajan, Chrome Product Manager with Google. And then after she lays a bit of a foundation for us, we're going to transfer over to Lushen Kress, Project Manager with Multnomah County Library. That's in Oregon. And he's going to share why he chose Chromebooks for the public library, the success they have had. And again, we believe this can translate into successes in other government agencies. A reminder, I've been watching Twitter all day long, the hashtag IFTN13. That's how you can get questions and comments in. And then this session is going to go about a half hour. We're going to roll right into some closing comments as well. So we're going to spend 45 minutes total here during this Hangout. So I encourage you to stay with us for that. I'll have some closing announcements, some other information I want to share with you about what we'll be doing tomorrow. But at this point, we do want to get into talking about Chromebooks. So Vidya, welcome to you. Thank you for taking time. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Vidya Nagarajan, and I'm a product manager at Google for Chromebooks for Business and Education. And I'm really excited to be here today. So thanks to innovation in the last 10 years, the web has got a lot more to offer us today. Now, your company probably stores data in the cloud, making it accessible for everyone from anywhere, from any device. And further, business tools that companies use to manage enterprise resources are also running on the cloud. The fact is, according to a survey by Forrester and Cisco, the average number of web apps that an information worker uses is 10 web apps across 3 devices to carry out his or her daily work. And with the work environment having such a flexible feeling to it, you should choose the right browser where you can offer business users the ability to access the tools and applications securely from anywhere, no matter what device they use. And today, most of the best-of-breed web apps require a modern browser. So we have web apps like Salesforce, Google Apps, or Zendesk, are all cloud-based, and more applications are moving towards the cloud. So to empower our employees to use the best business tools, it becomes important for companies to choose the right browser that has access to the latest web standards such as HTML5. So Chrome for Business offers a platform and a modern browser for enterprises with enterprise class control and functionality. To take this a step further, Chromebooks lead the desktop transformation. Chromebooks are optimized for the web. They're built around the Chrome browser, and they have such a lot of functions and policies that are designed to make enterprises work really well. So current desktop systems are painful and expensive to manage. So you have users who are frustrated by slow boot times, constant crashes, IT is wasting a lot of sunk time on installing software, doing patches, managing the machines, and there are constant security holes in the OS as well as the software. And developers have to do this extra work to port and manage these apps so that they work on every platform. So Chromebooks offer hardware-level security. They're built around the design paradigms of speed, simplicity, and security. They offer virus and malware protection. They're extremely fast. They boot up in less than 8 seconds. They get better over time with constant software updates that come directly and securely from Google. And they provide a web-based admin console for central deployment and management of a large fleet of devices. So all of this results in significant cost savings for an enterprise. And we have found that the cost savings could be as much as $5,000 per device over a 3-year period compared to traditional PCs and desktops. Possibly the greatest benefit to highlight in the Chromebook model is the security. It's a highly secure device from the very start. Auto updates are security updates that come directly from Google, and these are automatically installed on boot. Sandboxing, so all the applications are completely sandboxed, and they run in a restricted environment from the other apps in the device. In fact, the browser itself is sandboxed from the OS. Further, there is a mechanism called verified boot, where the OS is checked for any form of tampering at the time of boot up, using custom security hardware that is part of the device. And any kind of local data that is stored in the device is encrypted, and it's completely segmented and isolated by user profile. So we take security very seriously from the start. To highlight some features of the web-based admin console, the web-based admin console allows an enterprise to manage a fleet of devices remotely. Through the admin console, you can configure different types of user and device policies for your devices in the enterprise. For example, an enterprise could actually control the type of startup page that they'd like to see. They could control the type of proxy they want to configure, or the websites or applications that they want their users to have access to. They can also restrict the users who can sign into a given device. And these are just some examples. So we have different hardware OEM manufacturers who've produced a range of Chromebook devices, starting from the Chromebook Pixel, which is our high-resolution device touchscreen monitor, to sub-$200 devices that are available in the market today, including the Chromebox. Chromebooks are used in a variety of different use cases in the industry. So we have customer kiosks, we have mobile workers who can use the device on the go using Wi-Fi or 3G capability. And we have shared workstations where employees can actually log into the device and access the different web apps that are available out there. In addition, one of the biggest use cases that we've found for Chromebooks is in the education space, where students in the K-12 classroom are using them. To support the public computing environment, we have a feature for kiosks called Managed Public Sessions. This feature allows IT customization and control without requiring the user to explicitly sign in with a Google account. It's an extremely secured mode where once the user is in the session, if there is any kind of idle activity detected, the user is automatically signed out. And further, upon sign out, any local data, cookies, or browsing session data is completely removed from disk. The IT administrator can set different policies and configuration for this session. They can set the startup page that they'd like. They can configure the default sites and apps that they'd like to use. And another perfect example for this use case would be in a library setting where a patron was to use the device for a certain period of time, and at the end of that predetermined period that has been set by the library administrator, they would be logged out and would have to return the device at the front desk. We've got a lot of success stories around Chromebooks, and and these are just some examples and samples of customers who are using them. And I'd like to introduce you to Lucien, who will be sharing with us how Chromebooks are being used at the Multnomah County Library.
Thank you, Vidya. I'm Lucien Kress. I'm a project manager at Multnomah County Library, mostly working on IT projects. I've worked as an IT manager, as a project manager, and as a library IT consultant for about 15 years. Multnomah County Library serves the greater Portland, Oregon area. It's the oldest public library west of the Mississippi and one of the busiest of libraries less than 1 million patrons in size. It has one central downtown library and 18 neighborhood libraries. Providing public computing access and access to the internet has been one of the core services for libraries since the early 1990s. And today, Multnomah County Library provides over 500 public computers and over 750,000 public computer sessions every year. In 2011, we received a grant from the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission to provide loaner laptops for patrons to use inside the library. And at that time, we evaluated Windows-based netbooks and Apple iPads before selecting Chromebooks. We purchased about 185 Chromebooks in early 2012, deployed them to branches over a period of about 5 months. And in the following fiscal year, from July 2012 to June 2013, we loaned the Chromebooks over 32,000 times. My focus today is to talk about using the Chromebooks as public computers, public access computers, but we do also use them among staff, for staff meetings, for travel, etc. And I think that there's a wide range of applications, both as public access computers and as enterprise computers. One thing I want to clarify is that although we're a library, we have seen Chromebooks being investigated by other governmental departments in the county as well. The health clinic, juvenile justice, and other departments are very interested in using Chromebooks as public access devices. I want to talk a little bit about the challenges of public computing. These are challenges that libraries have been facing for more than 15 years, and I want to talk about how Chromebooks have met most of those challenges. One challenge is the challenge of supply and demand. It's difficult to keep the right number of computers at the right location all the time because need varies from day to day and from month to month. Certainly when school gets out in the afternoon, there's a whole bunch of new patrons coming in to use computers. During the summer, use tends to be lower, and so with public computers, it's very difficult to manage the supply. Chromebooks are great because it's really easy to redistribute them from branch to branch. It's easy to keep some back when we don't want to loan as many, and then pull out the extra ones when we have a crowd. The second challenge is keeping software up to date. And as Vidya mentioned, the over-the-air updates that Chromebooks get directly from Google really takes care of a lot of this challenge. The over-the-air update happens in the background. Patrons and staff often are not even aware that it's going on. The next time the Chromebook reboots, it comes up with the new version. And so it's very rare that we have an incompatibility due to, for example, an old version of Flash. Whereas with our public computers, we've often had to wait several weeks between when a Flash update was available and when we were able to update it. A third challenge is security. Libraries invest a lot of time and money in locking down their public computers so that patrons can't install malicious software or introduce viruses or change configurations in a way that makes the computers less useful to the next patron. With Chromebooks, out of the box, logged in as guests, we have a lot of control over what patrons can do, and we can also be assured that the Chromebook resets to its default settings when the next patron logs in. Because of the verified boot process that Vidya mentioned, we know if a patron has been trying to hack a Chromebook. We know that it's coming up with the right software. And a fourth challenge that I want to mention is patron privacy. Libraries try to guarantee patron privacy, and it's absolutely essential to us that when a patron has logged off a station, none of their personal data be left on the computer for the next patron. And Chromebooks allow us to do that. When a patron logs in as guest or using the new public sessions feature, we know that when they log out, all of their private data will be removed. Aside from this, why Chromebooks? Well, when we were evaluating computers for loaner laptops, there were a lot of areas in which Chromebooks really stood out. One, they are cheaper, and they're much easier to set up than the Windows laptops and the iPads were. I would estimate that with the batch of 185 that we bought, it took about 10 minutes per device to set it up to the point where it was ready to deploy to the patron. They offer really simple central administration. Simple enough so that it's not necessarily our IT team who does the administration. We're able to delegate that out to technicians, the less skilled technicians. They're easy for patrons to learn how to use, and they're easy for staff to learn how to support. In a public library that's very busy, this is especially important because the staff do spend a lot of time on computer support already with our desktop computers. And so having laptops that are just very, very easy to support is a great savings of time. They have great battery life. We find that patrons can use a Chromebook all day without ever having to recharge it. And so we tend to just plug them into our cart overnight for charging and then let them run during the day. On our longest days, which are about 14 hours long, then they do end up going back into the cart to get charged intermittently. And finally, they're very light, very portable, very bright, and surprisingly durable. We've watched patrons drop these Chromebooks 3 times on the way back to the place where they're sitting and had the Chromebook still work. So as I said, we've been mostly using the Chromebooks just with guest logins, which give us a certain amount of privacy and security. But Google recently introduced public sessions, which Vidya mentioned. It's essentially a set of features which come right off the wish list that libraries have had for public computers. I want to talk about a number of those features. First of all, the simplified login process. Currently, when patrons log in, they have to find the link that says login as guest and know that that's the link to go to. And with public sessions, they just get a single login box in the middle of the screen. When they click it, without any typing at all, they end up logged in. It has an interactive terms of use page in which we can show the patrons the rules of use, and if the patron does not accept, then it can log them right back out. It includes an enforced proxy and home page, so we can steer them to the library's home page. Whatever else they plan to do, we want them to start on our home page. It includes whitelist and blacklist capabilities. We've experimented a little bit with having some of our Chromebooks configured to just access library databases or just access our catalog, and the whitelist and blacklist allow us to do this. In general, most of our Chromebooks are general browsing machines that patrons can use to go anywhere on the internet. Public Sessions has improved privacy features. The patron can log in. While they're in a session, they can log in to various accounts with their own username and password. When they log out, we know that all of that data will be removed. Public Sessions allows us to pre-install apps that we want the patrons to have access to. A couple examples for the library are the Kindle Cloud Reader, which lets them read the ebooks that we loan to them, and the Kobo Reader, which is popular among many of our patrons. In addition, we have Evernote, a variety of Google apps. We have a calculator and a few other apps pre-configured there. Patrons can still install the apps of their own choice during their session, but of course those get erased when the patron logs out. And finally, and very importantly, Public Sessions includes the ability to set a duration for each session. We have ours set to 2 hours, and the patron sees a countdown timer in the lower right-hand side of the screen. Tells them how much time they have left. At the end, after 2 hours, they get logged out, and that's when they know they need to return it. So I won't say these are the perfect checkout stations, but I think they come closer than anything else we've used. A couple things that are on my wish list are, first of all, integration with our public computer reservation system and our print management system. These are both systems that are library specific that allow allow patrons to reserve computers for use and then to print things and get charged for their prints. And we're hopeful that at some point Chromebooks will be able to interface with those systems, which will take away a little bit of the staff management time that's still there. And also, we'd really love to loan these Chromebooks outside the building, but we don't feel like we can do that until we have some theft detection, geolocation type features. What I'd love to do is be able to send a message to a Chromebook and say, this Chromebook needs to come back right now. So that's essentially what I wanted to tell you about our program. It's been in place for a little bit over a year now, and it's been very popular. It's gotten the attention of the local press as well as local bloggers, and our patrons generally love the freedom of being able to pick up a Chromebook at the front desk and go anywhere in the library rather than be tethered to a specific station.
Lucian, let me jump in here. Actually, what I want to do is based on what you said on your wish list video. There was another question from Brett out there wondering, are there any kind of tracking capabilities? Again, if someone's using it kind of via 3G or 4G. Brett, going beyond a library, just wondering about tracking delivery vehicles or other personnel teams that might be using these in the field. Sounds like that's a wish from more than just Lucian out there.
So when you're referring to tracking, you want to know where the device is at this point in time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking at different options to see what we can do there. We have some basic reporting capability, which kind of tracks how often the device has been used, who are the users last using it, but we are looking at seeing what are the different ways we can actually enable or allow if a device has been stolen, what do we do to that device, right? So we have some workarounds in place today. A couple of workarounds are, for instance, at least to address Lucian's case, would be if you know the device has been stolen for sure, we would actually go to the web-based management console, move the device to a different organization unit, which is how clusters of devices are grouped together, and you would pretty much disable or restrict sign-in of any other user into that device, and that way kind of block access to any user from using the device. So you can, and also prevent guest access. So there are certain ways in which you can kind of make the device inoperable.
Makes sense there. Let me ask you this, Lucian. I believe you mentioned 185 of these units. Is that more than the laptops and computers you had before, because of cost that you were able to get more machines, or was it equal? You had 180 or so before, you replaced it with the same number?
Actually, previous to Chromebooks, we had very few laptops in the libraries. We were doing a pilot test of maybe 20 laptops, and that's where we found out how expensive it is to manage Windows-based laptops as loaner laptops. When we bought the Chromebooks, we were working with limited grant funding, so we knew we had X $1,000 to spend, and certainly we were able to buy more Chromebooks than we would have bought if we had bought iPads or Windows netbooks. I would say that having the devices be cheap was a big advantage, although not necessarily the deciding factor.
What about the idea of, and I'm going back over to our question module, someone dropped this question to us into the question over in the networking resources area, and Vidya really, is going your direction, asking about how a Chromebook might stay competitive over a 3-year time frame. That goes to the typical kind of laptop refresh cycle that many organizations have been focused on. So one, your thoughts there, and then Lucian, I'll probably come back to you to get your thoughts on what might be your refresh cycle now that you've gone off of that standard Windows platform onto Chromebooks. So Vidya, with you.
Yeah, sure. So the great thing about the Chrome OS model is that we constantly push out software updates. So with this, actually, devices actually get faster over time, and we actually use the term it's kind of rust-proof. So we constantly, for instance, with the very first generation of Chromebook, the trackpad was not very smooth. And we actually pushed in constant software updates to make sure that through software, the trackpad functionality in the constantly started getting better and it was more evolved. And you found a difference, of course, with next generation hardware. But even if you went back to the very first generation of the Chromebook, you would see a significant difference. And we've been able to make all these updates primarily through software pushes and through software updates. And that's been a big advantage for us.
Lucian, your update cycle, I mean, that has probably, I have to assume, went into your kind of budget and planning, realizing that you
Sure.
might be able to get off that 3-year cycle?
Sure. Well, we actually did hold on to the concept of a 3-year cycle because we expect these laptops to be mistreated to some
Sure.
degree. And so I would certainly agree with Vidya. In the year plus that we've had them, they have not gotten slower. They have not started to age in any software sense. But they do get dropped. A very few of them have gotten stolen, and we kind of anticipate that at the end of 3 years, we'll be looking at a more beat up set of Chromebooks. I would certainly think at that point they might have another year of use as devices that can go outside the library, for example. But I think that they are less subject to obsolescence than a Windows-based computer would be, simply because the software is so thin that it's not using up the hardware resources in any sense.
Well, that makes perfect sense, especially in that environment where you're checking things out. People dropping CT even earlier was like, what? Lucian, you let them drop it 3 times and you still let them keep it in their hands?
Mm-hmm.
A couple other folks on here, Marty, one of them, can see usefulness, potentially Vidya, in job training programs, in youth literacy programs. Are those other environments and programs that you've seen Chromebooks find a way into?
Actually, yes. We've had a lot of Chromebooks being used in the California system of libraries. And actually, if I remember, it was the Santa Cruz Library or the Santa Clara Library, one of the two. They actually had a big program supporting literacy and job training where they actually used Chromebooks as training devices. So you have this mobile form factor, right? They're really portable, they're shareable, you can move it around, and you have these apps working on it. So it seemed to be a perfect fit.
And Lucian, ultimately, I want to come back to the idea of the public reaction. You said you didn't have a whole lot of laptops before. All of a sudden, this is a new offering. Are these constantly checked out? Give us that sense of what have they ultimately said, because that's who you're serving, the public there. What's their reaction been to the program?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, they supplement our public computers because a lot of our patrons are used to using the desktop computers. It's when those computers are full that the Chromebooks really kick into high gear. But we do have a significant number of patrons who go straight to the Chromebooks because all they want to do is watch YouTube or do other entertainment-related stuff. They want to find a comfy chair, sit down with a Chromebook, and get busy. What I think that we've seen is that the familiarity of them is growing. In the first few months, we had to sell these a little bit to patrons who were pretty sure they wanted to use the desktop computers. I think that we've seen increased use every month since we first implemented them. And what that tells me is that patrons are getting more used to it and starting to choose them. We haven't reduced the number of public computers overall. We still plan to have the desktop computers at least for the foreseeable future. But as far as adding flexibility and allow us to deal with overload of patron need, the Chromebooks are definitely busy.
Also busy is the Twitter feed over there, hashtag IFTN13. Couple ideas going back between Chris, Marty, and other folks about other ideas, other ways that Chromebooks might be used in a public setting. So, folks, I encourage you to check out that hashtag. My thanks to Lucian and Vidya for being with us for this session.